Defensively, he sets up his team in the best possible way, the correct way. Attacking-wise, he attacks with very good patterns, which massively helps his side to score goals. There's no secret that Thomas Frank is a general, and he's definitely one of the best managers in the Premier League currently. He has a great understanding of the game. He speaks very well to the press. He has a very good tactical insight of the game, good tactician. In my humble opinion, Thomas Frank deserves to be managing the Champions League so he can showcase to the whole world how good of a manager he really is, because it's been one hell of a rise for Thomas Frank. From getting promoted with Brentford back in 2021 to have them finish in ninth, their highest ever Premier League finish, Brentford, to now managing Tottenham in the Champions League. I'm going to be talking about Thomas Frank, and I'm going to be explaining why he's one of the best managers in the Premier League currently, and why the job that he's done at Brentford needs to be respected more than any other. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and without any further ado, let's get into the Thomas Frank props. Since getting promoted back in 2021 via playoff final, Thomas Frank has done a wonderful job at Brentford. His Premier League record at Brentford: 88 games managed, 32 wins, 25 draws, and 31 losses. Them wins coming against the top 6 side: Tottenham, Manchester United, Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea. Fun fact, Thomas Frank and Brentford, in their first 3 attempts at Stamford Bridge, won all 3. 4-1 back in 21-22, 2-0 win back in the 22-23, 2-0 in 23-24 seasons. And to do that at Stamford Bridge, to have a 100% record at the time. In total, he's managed 4 games at Stamford Bridge at the opposition side, 3 wins, 1 L. I'm sorry, that is brilliant. And the tactics that he used in all 3 of them games was superb. So full credit goes to Thomas Frank for masterminding that record, because it's not... Obviously, Chelsea has been a bit inconsistent as of late, but historically, Stamford Bridge is not an easy place to go. And back in the 21-22 season, one thing I liked about Thomas Frank that season, which showed that he was a good manager, that he wasn't naive. Normally, when a promoted side comes into the Premier League, they try to play the exact same football that got them promoted and try to transfer it to the Premier League, even though the Premier League is a massive step up. Thomas Frank, he was still playing attacking football, but he also had a pragmatic side to his game, which allowed this team to pick up more points than usual promoted teams that stepped to the Premier League. And obviously, in that 21-22 season, they finished in 13th place. Their standout win, in my humble opinion, was the opening day beatdown of Arsenal, 2-0 at home. They bullied Arsenal that day. And throughout that season, he got good results like a 3-3 draw at St James's Park, a 3-3 draw against Liverpool at the Brentford Stadium. He got wins against, if I'm not mistaken, he got wins against Wolverhampton Wanderers. He got wins against Leeds. And yeah, man, he was making a good account of himself in the Premier League, in my humble opinion, because he was having players like Tony, Mbeumo, Wissa, Henry, Carlos doing their thing, attacking point of view. Carlos and Kyle Henry was the wing backs that offered width down the flanks. The flanks of Pinnock and Ayer, they were doing their thing as well. And Thomas Frank, yeah, man, I was starting to take notice. of Thomas Frank, man. 13th place finish in his debut season in the Premier League. Not bad. But the following season got even better. Even better, because they finished 9th, their highest ever Premier League finish currently. And boy, that season, Brentford was playing some champagne football, especially at their home stadium. The beatdown of Manchester United in game week 2, 4-0 in the first half. Brilliant tactics of both defensive security, passing, counter-attacking, and finishing. I'm sorry, they was moving havoc that day. Manchester United had no chance. Couldn't even keep up the intensity, the pressing as well. Like, they press as a team. They know when to pick their moments. And that game, they bullied them. Doing the double over Manchester City that won the treble that season. 2-1 at the Etihad and 1-0 at the last game of the season. Got a draw against Arsenal at the Emirates. A valuable point for them. And unfortunately, they beat Liverpool 3-1 at their home stadium. And I can't lie, that day, they bullied us, man. They bullied us that day. So, yeah, man, Thomas Frank against the top 6 side was doing this thing. And it's not just the top 6 side that he was doing this thing against. He was doing this thing against the sides of Newcastle, Aston Villa, West Ham, Wolves, Everton. Like, it wasn't just the top teams that he was, like, doing this thing against, setting up good tactics. It was against the sides that were on their level or slightly below their level that they were making a good account of themselves. And it's no secret that Ivan Toney had his best goal-scoring season under Thomas Frank. 20-plus goals. Thomas Frank knew how to get the best out of Ivan Toney, and he got the absolute best out of him. So 9th place finish, brilliant. And then Thomas Frank was starting to develop into one of the best managers in the league, which had top clubs circling around his name. Not gonna lie, they were circling around his name. Chelsea was linked to him at one point. Manchester United was looking at him at one point. Tottenham was looking at him at one point before he actually got the Tottenham job. So Thomas Frank's stock was rising. And then the following season was their lowest season. Injuries, obviously the Ivan Toney situation as well. Finished 16th place. They was battling relegation. The first half of the season, it was looking bleak. But the second half of the season, they turned it around, got a good run of form, especially towards the end of that season, which got them safe from relegation. Ivan Toney came back in January, helped them out. And yeah, man, Thomas Frank was still in the Premier League. But I always said one bad season does not define a manager. Because the previous two, he showed how good of a manager he is, Thomas Frank, and a good tactician, especially the way he speaks as well. So that was a low point for Thomas Frank, the 23-24 season. But I knew it was only a bad season. I knew it was going to be bad. Once he gets his players fit on a consistent level, trust me when I tell you, he was going to start cooking like he was cooking for the previous 2 seasons. And that's exactly what he done. Because this season now, they finished 10th. They finished 10th. And boy, oh boy, again, like the 22-23 season, the football was popping. It was a very difficult place to go to, Brentford's home stadium, because they went on a long unbeaten run to their standards, especially at home. Because Brentford, especially and away from home as well, they start off very quick. Like multiple games this season, they got the first goal within 3 minutes. From the first minute to the third minute, there was at least one goal up. Multiple times. Fast, attacking, direct football. And Mbeumo and Wissa had their best goal-scoring seasons. Thomas Frank knows how to get the best out of his attackers. He knows the tactics. He knows the game management to get these players motivated, especially from an attacking point of view. Because Mbeumo got 20 plus Premier League goals and Wissa got 19. And not just the attackers that was doing their thing. The midfields was doing their thing as well. Like Norgard was holding it down. Damsgaard got like 10 assists. He was definitely creating. Set pieces as well. Brentford was dangerous in terms of the set pieces. And different sides, because let's be honest, Brentford's had different personnel throughout their time in the Premier League. They still managed to cause teams problems. And I'm sorry, to me, Thomas Frank, his reputation, his recognition is sealed for me. It's sealed because in them 4 seasons, 13th place, 9th place, 16th place, and 10th place finishes, he turned Brentford into a newbie in the Premier League to an established Premier League side, in my humble opinion. And let me go you through the statistics of Brentford last season. Because last season, they were playing some real good football. They created 327 chances last season. They also recovered the ball 1,928 times, which tells me that it's not just attacking Brentford does their thing. It's also defensively as well. Yes, they concede goals, but they don't concede goals just by, let's say, Ange Postecoglou, the way he was conceding goals with Tottenham. It was their system, especially defensively, is very compact, and also is very strategic as well. So obviously, because they have a lot of tall guys in their defense, aerially they're comfortable in the air. Like aerially, if you're trying to lump the ball in the box for duels, aerial duels, they're definitely eating with that. And on the ground as well, they know how to pick their tackles. And one thing about their tackling, 630 tackles last season. That they defend as a team in it. They have such unity the way they defend. And I'm sorry, you have to put some respect on Brentford's name because, yes, they can lose games. Yes, there's games where they're not looking the best that they should be looking. But throughout that time in the Premier League, they have been a serious problem for teams, man. A serious problem. And that's all down to Thomas Frank. So, obviously, he's left Brentford now to make the move to Tottenham Hotspur. And that's a very, very good appointment for Tottenham because last season, Tottenham was all over the place defensively. And going forward, it wasn't a problem with Tottenham going forward. Going forward, they scored over like 60 plus goals in the Premier League. So going forward wasn't a problem. They were scoring goals. It's just defensively, they was conceding like 60 plus in the Premier League alone. And the way they defended it was like gun-ho. It's like a basketball game. You attack, we attack. You attack, we attack. And Tottenham's defence on paper is not a bad defence. It's one of the best defences in the Premier League on paper. Van der Ven, Romero, Indogi and Jed Spence with Vicario on goal. On paper, that's a very good back five. But the way Ange Postecoglou had his team defending was not right at all. Left them far too much too much space for the opposition to exploit. Too many gaps was leaving. Players was like losing concentration, and Thomas Frank will install concentration in that defense. He will install a compact defensive structure, which will be difficult for teams to break down, especially in the midfield, because they have the likes of Bentancur, Sarr, Bissouma. Obviously, they can add to that midfield as well, which I believe Tottenham should add to that midfield. And going forward, they still got attacking players. Like they added Kudos. They have Kudos. They got Solanke. Madison, unfortunately, is injured, so they need to go out to get a number 10. There was linked to Gibbs White, but Gibbs White is staying at Nottingham Forest. And Brennan Johnson, which people are not a fan of, but he does score goals, isn't it? He does score goals. He got the goal that virtually won Tottenham the Europa League, that got them Champions League football. So last season, the attack wasn't a problem for Tottenham, and Thomas Frank knows how to get the best out of his attackers. It's just defensively and the way they set up as a team that was question marks throughout the season. Hence why they finished in 17th place last season, Tottenham Hotspur. Under Thomas Frank, they are not finishing in 17th place, I can assure you. And so, yeah, man, Thomas Frank, his record, brilliant record in my opinion, especially for Brentford. Like, the job that he has done at Brentford needs respect to that. Obviously, in certain situations, he's worked miracles, but Brentford, in my opinion, had a good team, and he made that Brentford team into a very good team, in my opinion. It's just going to be interesting what Brentford does now, how they move on from Thomas Frank, because I don't think it's going to be a routine season for them without Thomas Frank, because I think Thomas Frank was the MVP of that team. He got the very best out of players. I believe that he had players playing above their level. So, yeah, man. Whether I see Tottenham Hotspur finishing under Thomas Frank, I have them finishing in the Europa League places. They will definitely finish in the Europa League places, in my opinion. They will not finish in the bottom half of the table. Because Thomas Frank, he's too smart, and also he's too good of a manager, especially a tactician, to allow that Tottenham side, on paper, that's not a bad team, to finish as low as they did last season. So, yeah, man. That's my thoughts on Thomas Frank. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know down in the comments below what's your opinions on Thomas Frank. How highly you rate him. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And yeah, man, until then, I'm out. Love.